Hello and welcome back, singers and teachers. This is Joseph Cianciulli from the Academy Bel Canto. We are talking today about the O and the U. So the O, the vowel O, you still have to have pillar height. Yes, just like with the U, you still have to have pillar height. This is, of course, in reference to the tongue. The tip of the tongue is still in the well. The sides of the tongue are still lifting to the upper molars. And again, just to remind you, this is allowing freedom in the larynx. When the larynx is free from muscular tension and weight, the weight of the tongue, it's allowed to act the way it naturally does, to release resonance in a more natural and free way. You get natural vibrato starting to show, not a manipulation of vibrato. So it's very important that you maintain pillar height or high pillar height even on the O and the U. Now the O needs a special discussion regarding its use for the male voice, because O brings a stronger sensation into what naturally builds up in the chest in the male voice as you rise in pitch. At a certain point, there's this idea of appoggiare. Now, appoggio, of course, means to lean, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you lean into it like some of the teachers that I've heard have discussed. In bel canto, appoggiare had two real meanings. One was the connection or the coordination between breath and resonance moving together, not breath leading or not resonance leading or pressing. Okay, it was the natural coordination of both moving together. Okay, and that in time, that connection would allow the folds to work more efficiently. And of course, in time, that means bigger and more brilliant sounds. The second appoggiare, mention of appoggiare was to a certain point in the singer's range where there's a buildup of pressure and it's felt in the chest. It's not a very strong sensation. It's very subtle. However, when you use the vowel O, you can bring more attention to that sensation so that the singer doesn't avoid the sensation of appoggiare. Okay? So, appoggio is used for, or the vowel O is used anytime we work into appoggio with the male voice. Okay? So if we go, for example, I'm doing a releasing exercise. My appoggio is on D. Okay, so if I'm going va 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 va, and I go all the way up to D, I would change to O because I can feel appoggio more prominently. Or va 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 va. So the first note of appoggio, I change to O, and then I change to A on the way down. Now I'm not doing anything to manipulate the sound, but it brings more attention to the sensation of appoggio. And it also not only brings the attention to the singer, but it also allows for the teacher to hear more prominently the natural qualitative change to the sound that is appoggio. Okay, now when we get to passaggio, the vowel of passaggio is U, yes, with a very distinct shape in the embouchure in the mouth. U, vu, so we would change to vu. And then when we're in appoggio, we would change back to O. What this does is it brings the physical sensation, an enhanced physical sensation to what it feels like, the narrowing through passaggio and the sensation of the singer's buildup of appoggio, so that when they feel those sensations in exercise over weeks and months and years, when they go to sing in repertoire, they have a stronger feeling and connection to those points in the repertoire when they are in those places, so they don't avoid them. Because for some singers, when they're allowing more resonance to come through, it can be a little deceiving to a certain extent. Is it muscle or is it a natural buildup of appoggio? So you bring a strong sensation to what it feels like when the singer goes into these areas, so when they go in repertoire, they're not manipulating or trying to bring appoggiare down, the sensation of appoggio, but they're allowing it to naturally build up, and they're allowing it to naturally be released with the squillo always leading. Okay, so we will go into this concept in greater detail in future lessons, but this has been a general introduction into the use of O and the use of U in your exercise, as well as what happens in the embouchure and in the tongue. So, just to recap, as always, the pillars are held high for the O and the U. The tip of the tongue is in the well. When you work with the singers, when you go into where you as a teacher hear a qualitative change to the sound, and you hear it always remaining in the same place. For the tenors, typically D. For the baritones and basses, or for the baritones, typically around B flat, B natural, and for the basses around G. You're going to want to change the vowel in your exercises in those areas to O or U. Now, eventually we work on vowel sharing, right? We would go to feel the appoggio in a more open vowel. We could then go O and then morph to A, so we can share the resonance or share the sensation of appoggio with the A, so they can, of course, be able to sing with appoggio on all vowels without allowing the pitch to drop or allowing muscle to creep in. So if I went to vo in my appoggio and I went to A to share the resonance, vo, as opposed to va 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 va, and I avoid it, va 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 va, vo. I feel appoggio, but I also allow the resonance and the quality, the shape of A to allow resonance to move through the shape of A with the sensation of appoggiare. Okay, so we do the exact same thing on U, moving through passaggio, but this is a process. It is a process that the singer must go through at their own pace. The teacher must not rush the process, because when you do that, eventually you end up with manipulation. So if you have any questions, as always, send us an email at vocalmastery1@gmail.com or reach out to us at www